Everyone, welcome to another Something Bad Thursday. Apologize, this video had to unfortunately be delayed. I was pretty busy over this week, but now I should be all caught up. So without further ado, let me address what I wanted to talk about, and that has to deal with biking on the road, which I think ultimately ends up being a very bad thing and can be very dangerous. And I think that there's a lot of problems when it comes to biking on the road. And by on the road, I mean biking in an area where it's clearly not safe for people to be biking. So I'm not talking about trails or sidewalks or places where it's relatively reasonable to see biking occurring. And the thing is that it's not only very inconvenient a lot of the times for people who are actually driving a vehicle, but it also again creates a lot of uh, stress among everybody, and I think it's very dangerous. And I've heard of accidents that have happened because of people choosing to drive or ride really their bikes alongside the roads where cars are. Uh, and although, again, obviously there are bike lanes, and I understand people are allowed to use those lanes, but sometimes those lanes aren't even there, and still you will have people who will choose to ride along the roads. And these roads, again, they're normal streets where cars are constantly going back and forth. I mean, I don't understand why somebody needs to ride their bike along an area where there is not even a bike lane designated for them. I don't get it. I don't get why suddenly that somebody has the right to stand in the way of traffic like that. And sometimes people will ride their bike in the middle of the lane, so they'll literally slow down all of the cars behind just so that they can ride their bike in the middle of the road. And I don't understand. I really don't get it. I don't understand why this needs to be something that ultimately bikers have to do, because there's so much other options and alternatives in which that they can enjoy their riding experience without trying to detriment everything else that is occurring. And I see this so many times, and it's very often around where I live, where it's constantly a hazard, and it really stresses the people out who are driving, because we are afraid of hitting a bike. And it's very hard because bikes are a lot smaller than cars, so it's very hard to see them too. Uh, so you don't really know how far away you are from a bike. And sometimes, even if they do have a bike lane, you're afraid that they'll go out of the bike lane and that you will hit them somehow, or they'll somehow hit you. And so it creates a very bad experience, because I am just like, okay, I don't want to hit you, and at the same time, I don't even know why you have even the right to be so close to where I am and when I'm driving. So I think what ends up happening is that it just creates a very overall unsettling experience for people, because there are so many other alternatives. I mean, I don't get why there are more bikers who don't ride on the sidewalks, because again, there's not a huge amount of traffic on sidewalks. Like, I rarely see people walking. And even if you are really walking, I mean, you could still stop your bike, or you could still get out of the way for the bike to pass through you. I mean, it's not a huge hazard, unlike being in the road, on the road, where there are vehicles that can really create a significant impact and really, really do a lot of damage. So, I mean, I just think it's a very bad behavior, and I don't really like it when these kinds of things happen. And largely, I don't understand why. It still baffles me sort of to this day why there is this constant need to want to be in the middle of traffic. And the worst part is when you have a group of bikers riding all in the one lane and blocking off that one lane and just riding all together. And I understand if you have like a blocked off event where the bikers can ride, and they do that sometimes, but it seems like for some reason it's just like, hey, let's all get together and ride in the middle of the road where we really have no place to be riding, and cause a gridlock in traffic, and maybe get some people even stressed out by the fact that we're in the middle of the road. And it's just ridiculous. I don't understand why they're they can't just go somewhere else. I mean, there's tons of different options, and I don't really see why this is an option for people a lot of the time, and why they feel the need to do it. Because even within a bike lane, I get nervous, and I don't even really ride. When I'm riding my bike, I don't even go in a bike lane. I literally stay on the sidewalk because I feel that's a lot safer than riding on the road. Because at least you have a separation there of a road and a sidewalk. So, I mean, I just think that there's just a lot of problems that end up happening because of this. I think that, a lot of the time it really creates a burden, especially when you are so close to other cars, and when other cars are really just trying to get to their destination. And a lot of the times we use vehicles just to get to a place quicker, and then to see somebody riding a bike who's clearly doing it for leisure purposes, and is not really stressed out, and just kind of riding or just doing an intense workout or whatever, just trying to take up that whole space. It's just very annoying and bothersome, and it just creates a level of stress, and just it's just ridiculous. So I mean, it's very dangerous too. I mean, this can really be damaging even when you're within the bike lane. Still, sometimes cars can hit you, and it's very easy to get into these situations, and it's very concerning. And I think that's ultimately why I consider it such a bad practice, and why I think it really does create a lot of problems more so than solutions. And honestly, even though, again, obviously, the bike lane was trying to give some option to people who want to ride their bikes within a designated lane. Again, even those can be a little dangerous because, again, there's no break in between a bike lane. All that's literally separating you from a bike lane and the road is just a line that they draw, just so that they know, okay, this is the bike lane and then this is the regular lane. So, yeah, it's just very it's just very uncomfortable to drive around where there are these bikers, and they're constantly around everywhere. And I don't understand why there can't be some kind of alternative where they just ride on the sidewalk, ride on trails, uh, ride at minimum in the bike lane. I just don't get it. It's just something that really does bother me. And again, I just think it's a really overall bad uh, kind of activity to take part in, because it is very dangerous and it can really be damaging. And especially when you're around vehicles and cars, I just don't get it. But that's just my honest opinion. I'd be more than happy to hear what anybody else has to say. But again, I'm more so coming through the perspective on that I don't really want to hurt anybody while I'm driving, and just having somebody there that's right next to you riding their bike, it's just very intimidating, because it's just the person is so close to you, and you don't really know what they're doing, and you really have no control over their maneuvers, and you just get freaked out because you don't want to have a you don't want to create a bad and you don't want anything bad to happen. And I just think it would be better if we had way, and again, there are, I think, a lot of alternatives that people aren't really taking advantage of. They would just rather ride for some reason on the road because the road obviously has a lot more space, and I understand that, but there are designated roads even within my city, and I'm sure others, where you can ride your bike and there's no cars at all that go through there. But for some reason, people just like riding their bikes on the roads where there's constantly cars, and they take up lanes, and they'll again, they'll release, they don't ride at really fast speed, obviously, in the same capacity as a car, so it slows things down, and it causes a lot of problems, unfortunately. And a lot of people end up, unfortunately, passing away or having severe injuries because of this kind of bike riding where you're on the road, and you're you're somewhere where there's a lot of cars passing by. um, and yeah, I just think it's just a problem. At least around here where I live, it is sort of a problem. But again, that's just my honest opinion and from my personal experience. Be more than happy to hear what anybody else has to say about this topic, and I understand if there's others that probably disagree, but that's all I think I can ultimately say about it. However, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. I hope to see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.